Hello, I'm Mr. Hutchison. I'm your student's teacher for AP US History this year. So I just wanted to take a minute to introduce you to the class and welcome you to our community here at Green Hope. So if you would like, there's a QR code here on your screen or a bit.ly web address below. You could use either one of those. I'd appreciate it if you would either scan that QR code or type in that bit.ly when you have a chance, and that will take you to a Google form where you can let me know that you visited my video, found out a little bit about the class, where you can update your contact information with me, and where you can ask any questions that you might have at the end of this presentation. So that will be on the screen through our presentation. So I'm just going to go ahead and move ahead with our conversation. So with APUSH, we have, of course, it is an AP level course. It's technically 2 college courses in 1 semester. So it's always a challenging course for students. But our goal is not just for them to walk away with some sort of a rote memorization of history. That's not how the AP course is designed. That's not how college courses are designed today. College courses are being reshaped by the scholarship of teaching and learning. And it's not just to walk away with a memorization of facts, but to walk away with some historical skills, historical argumentation, an understanding of how history is done as a professional activity, and the ability to use sources to create and defend and support your own historical argumentation. That's the skills that kids will be developing in this class, along with an appreciation and an understanding of United States history in particular. They will also be working on those analytical skills and those critical thinking skills and their writing skills. One of the things that we hear nationwide as teachers, high school level teachers, as feedback from colleges and universities is that many students come to college and university unprepared to write at the level that they are expecting, the academic level, that they need to be able to write and express their thoughts and their arguments in those courses. So writing is one of the big focus points of this course, developing students' historical writing and adding that tool to their toolbox in order for them to be prepared when they go to college. So the class structure, with all of that being said, should have given you a hint that the class structure is not your typical traditional history class that you might have encountered when you were in school or when I was in school back in the dark ages. Those were typically lecture classes. It was memorize the facts. It was read the textbooks. It was color a map. That's the kind of course that was. That's not what this course is. And even more so this year, it's not a tests and quizzes kind of class. So it's not just memorize based on the lecture and take a test, take a quiz that's all multiple choice, and then you're done based on recall. Instead, in our class, students are going to learn through questioning texts, through analyzing historical sources, both primary and secondary, if you like to use those terms, but we consider them all historical sources of information. They'll develop their own arguments. They will critique the arguments made by historians, compare and contrast arguments made by historians, and they will develop and defend in essays and in class discussions their own interpretations using those historical skills. So with that being said, we do always like to give this caveat in our department in social studies that we're dealing with sensitive subjects, sensitive topics. We're dealing with everything from horrors of the past as well as hallmarks of the past and events that we look back to in a positive light. We also look back to things like slavery and the Holocaust and Indian removal. And we can't deal with those honestly and accurately without taking a harsh critical look at the past. So students are going to encounter what may be at times disturbing historical events and facts. And so we understand that that can be sensitive for some students. So of course, students always have the opportunity to talk with us and to work through those reactions to the what is the history and the facts of the past. But we do encourage students to think critically and to look at these events in the past through that kind of an academic lens. Um, in order to do that, that means we will be looking at varying points of view. So they will be reading works from historians and scholars from multiple points along an ideological spectrum. None of those is meant to promote a particular point of view. They're meant to expose students to those points of view for students to critique, for students to figure out, how does someone build a historical argument? Do I agree with their historical argument? How have they used their evidence in support of their historical argument? Do I think there's other evidence that points to a different conclusion? Those are the kinds of questions that we're leading students to develop as they work through this course. So to find information on this course, your students have all been added to our Google Classroom site. That's where we're going to host all of our materials for this. They have the ability to invite you as a parent viewer, and some of the information on the Google site will be available to you as a parent viewer. We also have our old class website before we went to remote learning, which is ghhsapush.com, which houses everything that we use through the semester and some things that we don't use. And we pick and choose from that, but if you want to kind of get a peek ahead at what students may be doing, you can look at the old website. And we also keep a parent page that we update each semester there if you're interested. On the website, it's going to look slightly different on the student view, but they have access on their stream page when they go to this class to there in the little box, quick reminders of upcoming assignments and due dates. There's announcements, and I will post a daily blog just reminding students, here's what we did in class today. In case they're ever unable to connect with us during live times, that's where they'll find it. On the classwork page, they have access to the class calendar on Google calendars, and all due dates and assignments and everything will be noted on that class calendar as we work through the semester. It's organized by units of study, and within those units of study, you'll see assignments and materials, and so kids can just scroll down through the units of study to find their specific assignments, and all the materials they need for it will be posted there as well. One particular item that they can find at the top in general information is the class. So let's look at that really quick. This is the class syllabus, and I want to highlight a couple of things. First of all, there's my contact information, and you'll notice that we do have a remind for this class. If you would like to join that, you're welcome to. I'll be sending out just simple reminders of things that are due and things that are upcoming on Remind. But students can also message me using Remind if they have questions or concerns or need feedback or need to set up a one-on-one appointment for tutoring to help out with anything that they're struggling with. They can do all of that through Remind. The major assessments that we will be using this semester for the major grades include written assessments, 2 of those per quarter. Those assessments are using AP style short answers, which both gather information and ask kids to make a little bit of a historical argument and draw some historical conclusions. So those are replacing the old multiple choice and written kinds of tests. So we have those written assessments. We have essays like we've had in the past, 4 major essays, 2 per quarter. And we have class discussions like we've had in the past. We'll be using some online tools to facilitate that. The discussions have students read and analyze historical texts, do a pre-writing exercise, and then do some online discussion in a discussion board, and then also share their thoughts in our live time. And so all of that goes together for 1 grade. There will also be from checkpoints along in developing their essays and in developing their discussions. There will be some formative checkpoints that go together for the minor grades. So you can see the course grading is made up of 70% of the total grade, major grades, from these 3 categories that we just talked about, and then 30% from checkups on the chapters when they are due, and from formative steps along the way in developing their writing and developing their discussions. So AP exam is something that people always talk about, so I want to take just a second to talk about that. It is recommended but not required. The fee is paid for by the state, so you might as well take a stab at it. It is Thursday, May 6th, yes, this year, the morning session. In the past, parents often worry about, well, if my students have it here in the fall and then there's a gap of time before the exam in the spring, will they forget everything? Actually, in the past, our fall students have outscored the spring students by a little bit. So there's not really an advantage or a disadvantage there. They're pretty neck and neck, but the fall students usually do just a little bit better. And you can see kids in my class last year, our average score was a 3.35. 78% of the students in my classes scored a 3, which is the typical passing cutoff or higher, compared to 58.6 globally and 53.3% inside of North Carolina. So we feel like we're doing a pretty good job preparing kids for the AP exam with our analytical and argumentative approach, because that's what the exam is really primarily asking students to do. So people also ask about review materials. We've previewed quite a few. We can't require these and we don't require these. We simply say if students and parents are interested in some review materials before the AP exam, that these are the 2 books that we have found to be the strongest. The Strive for a 5 series and the Kaplan series. Make sure that you're getting a book that is pretty recent if you're getting a used one. So I would say the 2018-19 is the oldest that you would want to go, because the test changes slightly from year to year. We have not heard anything from College Board in terms of whether or not they might modify AP exams this year like they did last year. But those scores I showed you from last year are pretty consistent from the past 6 years. We score in that range. So even if the test is a modified version, kids still go into it really prepared. So if you have any questions, the QR code there or the bit.ly takes you to that Google form where you can share information about yourself with me, but also is an opportunity to ask any questions. And as we go through the semester, of course, you can always email me with any questions or concerns that you have. So just want to again say welcome to APUSH, and hope your student has a great year. Thanks.